Upgrade your wiper blades. Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades last 2 times longer than other blades available at Walmart. Can't believe how much we have today. You know, in our business, everybody knows, there's football season, then you have the NBA playoffs, and February, March are kind of considered a downtime. It's amazing to me how much good stuff we have going on. The NBA season, I'm telling you, I watched Denver Lakers last night. It felt like a playoff game. It really did. These teams now, this is when I start really watching the NBA, watching, more than just quarters and highlights. And I'll get to that Laker-Denver game because I thought it said volumes about what you're going to get from Denver in the playoffs and what you're going to get from the Lakers. But I want to talk about this. We now have, and I noticed this about 9 months ago when Adam Schefter, a friend of mine and somebody I respect, somebody everybody at Fox respects, NFL reporters said, this Brady thing, he's going to look around. Don't kid yourself on this. So this is not Slappy the blogger. It's Adam Schefter. Christian Fourier, a former NFLer Patriot, now works in Boston media, came out yesterday and said, Tom's done, and they're done with Tom. New England's done with Tom. Now, again, I have my beliefs on where he's going to go, but there's 3 or 4 things we have to all be honest about here. We now have legitimate reporters who I trust and players that know Tom that are saying these are not bloggers quoting each other. These are real people. We also know that Brady and Belichick, Jay Glazer reported, Tom's not taking a pay cut. We also know Belichick generally doesn't pay anybody. I mean, outside of Stephon Gilmore, anybody. We've seen tension in this relationship. We know that I can tell you I have one thing sourced. Brady is privately grumbling to those close to him about the lack of weapons and New England's inability over the last 5 or 6 years post-Randy Moss to get weapons and keep weapons and draft and develop weapons. These are all things you can't dispute. So I've been thinking a lot about this morning. And on our show, we love pies. We love a good, delicious pie. And I was going to do a Brady pie this morning because I think it's at least optically, it's the easiest thing to put your arms around. 70% of the pie, I think Tom's going back to New England, not because he's totally happy, but moving at his age, learning a new offense is a pain in the rear. I'll give 1% to retirement. He just throws his hands up in the air. 4% a surprise team. I just don't buy the Chargers. I don't. I have connections to the franchise. I don't buy them. I don't buy Oakland. I don't care that he bought a house there. I don't buy that. I don't buy Miami. A team I'm going to throw out there, and the more I think about this, I think they're the favorite in the clubhouse beyond New England. It's the Tennessee Titans. And I'll tell you why I think this. I've moved 4 times in my career across the country, and I was comfortable and making a lot of money in all the places. But when you move, you always move for the same reasons. You choose a place that is solving a current headache. Every place I left, there was an obstacle or a headache, and I wanted to solve it. And I didn't believe I could solve it. Sort of like Brady. What are Brady's 2 annoyances in New England that he can't solve? Number 1, Belichick will not spend money on weapons. He doesn't. He wouldn't spend it on his buddy Welker. He doesn't. And Tom can't overcome that because Tom can't control acquisitions and trades. So Tom can't control that. So he wants better weapons. Secondly is he wants to have more fun. He wants to have fun. He's got the money and the titles. Bill's not fun. Bill's uncomfortable. They don't have a relationship, really. So just think of the one place that solves both of those. The 2 annoyances Tom can't fix. Fun. Mike Vrabel's one of his best friends. He coaches Tennessee. He'd have fun with Mike Vrabel. Number 2 is they have excellent weapons. Arguably the best running back in the league. They've got 2 excellent receivers. A rookie last year from Ole Miss crushed it. They've got a slot receiver, Adam Humphries, and a lot of draft picks. They solve the annoyances that are currently unsolvable. He would have a lot more fun, and they've got weapons. Nashville is also a cool city. I don't think that's the be-all, end-all. But if you said Indianapolis or Nashville, most people with money and options would choose Nashville as a place to live. I certainly would. Joy, if given an option, probably would. I think Tom Brady would. I don't think that's the be-all, end-all, but I do think Nashville's a fun, cool, hip city where, you know, it's still close to the Eastern time zone. I think Nashville, to me, kind of gained steam. And the other thing that matters here, you know, they've said before it's easier for a child's brain to learn a new language than an older person. That it's my daughter can speak French. She at 12 and 13 and 14 years old, she picked up French like that. If you're trying to get me to figure out how to speak French, good luck. Picking up a new language later in life is hard. Tennessee speaks Tom's language. Mike Vrabel knows his culture and his language. The GM's a former Patriot. There are Patriots all through the building. They're not all through the building in Indy or Miami or Oakland or the Chargers. They're not. There's a couple in Miami, a couple. So between solving the two annoyances, he'd have more fun and he'd have more weapons, and the reality that in an incredibly winnable division, and that you talk about a place he could go tomorrow, a Jacksonville, dysfunctional Houston, Indianapolis doesn't have a quarterback. He walks in, can win a division. They speak my language. I'd have fun and I'd have weapons. Here's my Tom Brady, my official final Tom Brady delicious pie. 70% New England, 25% Titans, 4% shocker, 1% I give up. I'm quitting. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
I'm taking that little skinny 4% slice.
I don't believe it true, but I mean, we get shocked all the time.
Yeah.
So that is all right. I didn't see Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. I didn't see it. I whiffed. I was wrong. I acknowledge it. Sometimes I get shocked.
My thing is, with all this noise, why wouldn't he just stay in New England?
That's why I have it at 70%.
I don't know.
That's I think my big look at Tom in the middle of that pie. He looks like he wants a piece of pie.
Well, time is ticking for the Cowboys to get a deal done with Dak Prescott, which is one of the teams that we've talked about possibly being in that pie. And in an interview with Kimberly Martin of Yahoo Sports, he sidestepped a question of how much he thinks that contract should be worth.
Are you a $40 million quarterback?
You tell me.
I'm asking you. It's your
You're
contract.
the prognosticator. If it's my call to write it, yeah, no telling. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, like I said before, though, I mean, I trust my agent. I trust the Cowboys. Something will get done. We're not going to sit here and put a number on it. Something will happen.
When are we going to see you get paid? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering the same thing. Y'all know just as much as me. Love when that day comes, but I have confidence in my agency. My agent's my team. I've got confidence in the Cowboys. Something will get done.
Lisa,
Very interested to see what we hear about what was actually going on here once the contract is done, because I think we're all assuming that they are going to get a contract done.
I do think it's.
I don't think they franchise tag him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would consider it, but I don't think they'll consider it.
Well, when you look at what the highest paid quarterbacks are, because the report was that he had turned down $33 million.
Right.
So Russell Wilson, this is the annual average value in 2020. Russell Wilson is the highest with $35 million. Ben Roethlisberger, $34 million. And then you get into the range that they reportedly offered Dak, which would be Jared Goff and Aaron Rodgers at $33.5. And Carson Wentz is kind of, to me, the comp to Dak. Now, obviously, a lot of people feel that Carson Wentz is more talented than Dak.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, availability is a skill, and Carson Wentz has been injured a lot.
That's fair.
And they came in same year, obviously not the same rounds, but their records are similar. Dak Prescott has won a playoff game. Obviously, Carson Wentz has not. But he was obviously a part of that season where they won the Super Bowl, and he was not the quarterback of it because he got injured. But, you know, to me, they're just like, okay, you can put this here and this here and then this here and this here with Dak and Carson, and he's making $32 million. I don't see them paying him an astronomical amount higher than $33 million. So maybe they settle at like 35.
And as the cap goes up, 33 will feel like 29 now.
Well, that's my argument with this. We know that Patrick Mahomes is going to get a ridiculous contract, as he should, and he deserves it, and that makes sense, and anyone would pay Patrick Mahomes whatever it is that he wanted. But the cap goes up. All of these contracts, when they were first signed, seemed unbelievable, even at the highest level of talent. It changes, and then eventually you're not the highest paid, and then another guy gets paid, and this is how it goes. I know Cowboys fans don't want this to happen, but he's been playing on a fourth-round rookie contract. He's not made any money.
Well, the thing you don't want in the NFL, Joy, is chaos at quarterback. So if you have Dak, you won't have chaos.
Well, that's my question. What's the option? Okay, so you franchise tag him, and then next year you franchise tag him because he's going to be more expensive next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would franchise tag him, draft a quarterback perhaps, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Dallas is too big of a brand to be chaotic at quarterback. I think the brand is worth too much money. If the Cowboys go 8-8, they're on every network, and the value of the franchise goes up. And life is good in Dallas if you go 8-8. You got a bunch of people on sports radio like me and you ripping them. But 8-8 for Dallas is way better than, oh, hell, we don't have a quarterback. And so I think that alone gets Dak a 5-year deal.
The only time the Cowboys are not relevant is if they're completely awful, which is when they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, it's the year they had chaos at quarterback.
Right. It's not worth the risk to me. So Cam Newton is still recovering from a foot injury that ended his 2019 season. And Panthers owner David Tepper wants to know Cam's final health status before making a decision on his future with the team.
Where do you stand? Do you think he'll be back?
Listen, I'm not a doctor. You know, and I said it a million times. Is he good? Is he healthy? And how does? I mean, he's not a doctor. So you know, there's a lot of different things can happen. But first is he healthy? Tell me that, and then we can talk.
Very Belichick.
It's a question of how healthy he is, foot and otherwise, and that's still the number one overwhelming thing to see how healthy he is and how we can figure out when he's healthy or not.
Well, Cam has said he absolutely expects to be with the Panthers next season, and they do have to find out what happened and how he's recovering from his surgery that he had in December. It was a successful Liz Frank surgery. Remember, he was trying to rehab it, and eventually they just had the surgery. And that was against the Patriots during the third preseason game that he had that injury and missed 14 games this season with that injury, and then he had a shoulder injury in 2018. So obviously, Cam, we know Cam plays hurt. That's the book on Cam. He's very tough. He plays through injuries, which to me can sometimes be a detriment because then you're obviously making it worse. But, you know, as David Tepper said, none of us are doctors.
Yeah,
I expect to see him there next year, though.
Yeah, I think I'd move on. If what I would do if I was Carolina, I'd move on and I'd move up in the draft and I'd go get a quarterback because I know if I started a show, which I've done before, I like a clean slate mostly. I like the clean slate. Like when a football coach, Mel Tucker left Colorado, goes to Michigan State, he's going to get rid of even some really good coaches at Michigan State because he wants his own guys. I think if I was a new owner and a new coach, I just want my own guy and none of the other stuff. Unless my guy was Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Mahomes, then I inherited a superstar. But how I would do it is just, hey, appreciate your service. We're going to let you move on. We're moving up in the draft, and that's what I would do.
Well, he's in the final year of his contract that has a $21.1 million cap hit.
Yeah, cheap.
If they trade him or decide to cut him, they could save $19 million.
Yes.
So, I mean, I do think that there's a value if you're going to take a young quarterback to have a veteran guy in that place, but Cam Newton may be too much of a star to be in that role.
That's what I think.
So finally, a report surfaced yesterday that the Detroit could look to move on from Matthew Stafford and draft their next quarterback with the 3rd overall pick this year. But according to GM Bob Quinn, trading Stafford is not part of the team's plan. He told the Detroit Free Press that the rumors the Lions are shopping Matthew Stafford are 100% false.
Okay.
Now, he missed 8 games last season with a back injury. And then Stafford's wife fueled some rumors by posting on her Instagram story that if Detroit is done with us, I could stay in Cali in reference to the Chargers. However, his cap hit is $21.3 million.
Yes.
It moves up to $32 million if he's traded. And if he's traded before his 2020 option bonus is exercised, it would transfer to his new team, and the hit would be $24.8 million.
Yeah, that's probably what they would work. Again, Matt Stafford's fine. He has value on the market. The Chargers would take him today if they could. I really believe that. I think I've seen 11 years in Detroit and no division titles. Listen, I'm ready to move off Jameis Winston. Somebody will get him. I'm ready to move off Matt Stafford. Somebody will get him. It's not that I don't like these guys. I just think this franchise needs juice. I think Detroit's boring, bad, going nowhere. I think it needs a reboot as a franchise.
Again, we're not talking about these guys on a personal level.
Yes.
So it's never about this guy's
Stafford's
nice
a great
or that
kid.
guy's nice. Like they're all great people. It's not about that. What are you doing on the field? To me, Matthew Stafford has just been a guy. Like what has happened?
And he's not been a guy that makes big plays late in games, which is increasingly.
What do you always say? The NFL's about winning.
He doesn't win enough. It's like Andy Dalton. He doesn't win enough.
What do you want from me?
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Rob
News.
Parker, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. We don't bring Rob Parker on for just any automobile company. It's got to be Mercedes.
Oh, yeah, Mercedes.
The
Very
best
nice.
or nothing. Let's just segue into this. So I suggested a couple days ago, I said, I like Matt Stafford, but I know that Indianapolis and the Chargers would take him tomorrow if they could. There's no doubt in my mind. I know both GMs. I haven't talked to them, but I know how they think. Stafford's got a good 4 to 5 years left, probably at least 2 to 3 prime. I think it's time for a reboot in Detroit. That was met with resistance all over the internet. You covered him. Am I nuts?
No, you're not. And if I was still in Detroit, I'd drive him to the airport. I mean, come on with the Matthew Stafford. 11 years, no playoff wins. He was the first overall pick. It's not that hard. The Lions have won one playoff game, Colin, since 1957. I mean, let's be honest. And if you're not winning, he hasn't done it. He just hasn't done it. They haven't won enough. You just said it.
What about this, though? I hear Lion fans crushed me yesterday because I said I'd take Tua. If Cincy goes Burrow, I take Tua at 3. He's juice. I think he's a better talent. I don't care about the medical stuff. Carson Wentz has medical issues in college and the pros. I'd pay him whatever I have to pay him. People said this, though. Stafford is the only thing that's redeemable about Detroit.
Totally wrong, and the fans there in Detroit are delusional. They're so beat down. They haven't won anything that they think that he's something special because he allows them to be 7-9 every year or stay in the mix. Seriously. And it's ridiculous. I'm with you. The Lions won't do it because they've never gone out and taken a chance on a special talent. I'm 100% with you. Go get Tua, move on. There are other teams that need a quarterback.
When you were doing radio in Detroit, what would your callers say on Stafford? Because you called him
Stat Padford because of him padding his numbers.
So what did your callers say to
and
that?
And they would always say, oh, you're just a hater. Look at his numbers. He's got Hall of Fame numbers. But he doesn't have the wins. It's about win. I always say sports has a short menu. Wins and losses, that's what it comes down to. You can't look at – football is not that hard where the Lions have it. You know what? They've had so much trouble with making even first-round picks. You probably have a better chance, Colin, of picking out a good peach at the supermarket than they have picking out a #1 player that has been an impactful player to their organization.
Well, their brand at this point as a franchise is our Hall of Famers quit early.
They've had 2 great players walk out on them, and you don't even mention Ndamukong Suh didn't quit, but walked out on them as well. They had 3 great players walk out on them. And that's why when you look at Bob Quinn, who's the GM, he can't keep doing the same old thing. They ran Jim Caldwell out of there. Remember they said 9-7 wasn't good enough? And now Matt Patricia's the coach. He's won 9 games in his first 2 years. Is that good enough?
It's amazing because Cleveland's bad, but we talk about him. Oakland's dysfunctional, but we talk about him. The Giants are a mess, but we talk about them. They have brands. Detroit has no brand. And they don't win. This idea, you would have thought I suggested that, the Chiefs trade Patrick Mahomes. It's incredible.
Can I give you a fun fact on the Lions? I used to go to all the games when I was a columnist at the Detroit News.
Yeah, those were the days, by the way.
Those were the days. And you ready for this? They lost under Matt Millen when he was the GM. 24 straight road games twice. 24 straight road games twice. Can you imagine that in this NFL with all the parity? I mean, that's how bad it's been in Detroit. And people need to wake up and move away from the same old, same old. They'd rather be like win a few games.
Well, but that's who you are. You moved out of Detroit to move to Bristol and now Los Angeles. So you are not my wife's from Michigan. People that grow up in Michigan like to stay in Michigan. That's not your MO. You're from the Queens. Right. You're from Queens. You worked in Michigan, but you've always been a world traveler. So it's easy for you to say move on. You are a mover-oner. That's who you are in your life. A lot of people in Michigan, he's their guy. He's better than the other guys we've had.
But I just don't understand. Seriously, with football, when you see, it used to be a joke about, remember the Aints, right? When people wore bags over their head. It was the Aints, the Cardinals, and the Lions. All of them couldn't win. The Saints won a Super Bowl. The Cardinals went to a Super Bowl, and it took Santonio Holmes to have that great catch to take that Super Bowl away from them. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And the Lions still haven't been there. They haven't even sniffed it. Think about that. They haven't even won a division title in the
and
NFC
yet they
North.
are outraged that I suggested, this Tua kid's good. I'd roll the dice and move off.
I would roll the dice, 100%.
Okay, stick around. We've asked a lot from you today as a company. You did that show, you're doing this show. Stick around because I'm going to get you to admit LeBron does one thing greater than MJ, and you're going to have to admit it because you're going to.
You're going to paint me into a corner. I got to see this.
Rob Parker coming up next.